And I want to talk about the economy more, talk about those other issues more, because Emerson College Polling released this report card for President Trump based on how people feel that he's doing on certain issues. Immigration, 37% of voters give him an A. There's others that give him a B, C, and D, and 36% give him an F. The economy, 22% give him an A, others B, C, and D, 36% give him an F. Affordability, 17% give him an A. It goes on, 38% give him an F. Healthcare, 14% give him an A. And then it goes on, and 38% give him an F. What do you make of those grades?
I would say that if I was the Trump administration, I'd be really paying attention to those numbers. And look, polling. So I'm sorry if you could hear my dog in the background, but poll. She agrees with me. This is terrible. Listen. Here's the thing about polling, and depending on who, if it's a poll that's in your favor, you're going to point to it. If it's a poll that's not in your favor, you're going to say, oh, I can find another poll that is in my favor, right? And so I think we just have to be mindful of that. But if I am the White House and the Trump administration, I'm paying attention to these things, and I do think it matters. We do know that Trump is a showman. He does care what people think about him and his perception, and especially when we're looking at some of those numbers, when it came to affordability, when it comes to healthcare, which is an issue that we have been talking about on and off for years, but is really hot in this moment. I think that they need to make moves in order to get the American people to think that they're doing a good job. I think that they had a wasted opportunity when it came to some of the ACA stuff that just happened here at the end of the year. Republicans, we've never really been, at least in recent times, the party that is strong on the ACA, well, because we're against it, but I mean in healthcare in general. And we had, with these subsidies expiring, we really had the opportunity to become the party of healthcare and pro your healthcare and pro we care about the affordability crisis. And I think that we just really messed up on that. When Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the White House, as we talked about many times, Brittany, it's your opportunity to make those changes, and especially have them affected into law, because you need an act by Congress. You can't just write all these executive orders and expect them to stay in place. And so, yeah, I think that they really fumbled here. And, Susie Wiles has said going into 2026, we're going to run as though Trump is on the ticket. And we'll see what happens. He's already started making lots of rallies. I think it's important that he's in the White House eliciting positive changes rather than hearing him on the stump again and again all over the country. I don't think that's helpful.
And how do you think Republicans should go about addressing healthcare concerns? Because from Republicans to Democrats, both parties agree that healthcare costs are too high. Obviously, there's still no solution because dueling healthcare proposals in the Senate from Democrats and Republicans both failed earlier this month. The House didn't include something in their bill to extend the enhanced ACA subsidies, and that went through, but that's considered dead on arrival in the Senate. And there's not going to be a vote on the ACA tax subsidy extensions until after the new year, when they already lapse and over 20 million Americans are going to see their insurance premiums skyrocket. So it seems like we're in a bit of a mess here, right? Because there's no solution. Where do you think Republicans go? What do you think is the smart way forward?
I mean, at this point, to sort of poke fun at the concept of a plan, I don't even know if they're at the point of a concept of a plan, but they need to be. Again, this is something that is low-hanging fruit. Not only should you be doing this politically, but most importantly of all, you have a moral and ethical obligation to help the people that you've been elected to serve. And so this is really, am I saying it's easy to make policy? No. Am I saying it's easy to make policy that has to do with healthcare and affects literally every single American citizen? Of course it's not. But how many years have we had knowing that this deadline was coming up? We're always working on deadlines, and somehow every time they come up, it's a crisis again, rather than being, trying to be proactive and getting these done and putting them across the finish line when you know that this deadline is coming up. So I'm not convinced that we'll see anything too strong from Republicans at this point. They're going to have to do something. I do think that this is an opportunity to work in a bipartisan fashion, though bipartisanship has sort of become a bad word in Washington, D.C., which is crazy to me. I think we should be working together to do good for the common good. But I'm not convinced, and I think you'll see politicians scrambling to hit that deadline as always.